Yo, what's up guys, welcome back. So finally they're up, so let's try them out. The new Chimera cards, the new monster type actually, Illusionist if I'm not mistaken. So let's see, I'm a huge fan of this, of this type, or this card type, these new cards. Mainly because of the nostalgia factor as well, but these are actually quite competitive as well. They are obviously focused on, both Chimera fusions, one level 6, one level 8, if I'm not mistaken. The level 6 is fantastic, the first one you always want to go for, discard the card from your opponent's hand during the end phase, gets more searches, etc. So the gimmick of the deck is that they main deck a couple of monsters like Gazelle, like Swordsman here in this case, and the Snake. The quote, you know which one I mean, discard, and that's the thing, like every monster like searches each other, and they have their in-themed polarization, Chimera fusion, right, which is also searchable by multiple cards, by, the Nuber format. There's a new Gazelle, the Swordsman is basically a Lone Fire Blossom for the deck, so, like Short said, the strategy of the deck is, I guess, for example, when going first, you go for the new level 6 fusion. That one, as soon as that one hits the field, your opponent has to discard one card from their hand, and it's at random, so that's, -1 basically for your opponent. While, on the other hand, both Illusionist monsters, so the Swordsman and the Snake, the one on the right here in my hand, they both have like an on-field or in-graveyard effect that with the Snake, as soon as your opponent targets a card on your side of the field, and if you control, what is it, the Chimera fusions, you can banish it from the field or graveyard to negate that effect. While the other one, your Swordsman, the Lone Fire Blossom, when your opponent activates a monster effect while you control, like, one of your Chimera monsters, for example, you can negate that monster effect. So, I could feel like these cards could be splashable in some other decks. But we'll see in the future, but it's actually quite fantastic, simply because, again, they have multiple searches, Stratos effects, also when they're like fusion, or used as fusion materials, so very similar to the Despia cards, and they have graveyard effects. That's quite good. Plus, the new, Chimera Fusion is a quick play spell, so very similar to El Fusion, it's used to dodge stuff like Failure, Imperm, again, fantastic. So here a couple of effects again, Lost Chain, Chain Link 1, the Fusion discarding a card during the end phase. You had, what was it, the level 5 format, when it's like used for material, you can reborn an Illusionist monster, so that's like the Snake, the Swordsman for example, to potentially use their effects, or when they're on the field, I believe they cannot be destroyed by a battle, I think it's like that, yeah. Brilliant Fusion. Brilliant Fusion is in here simply because, well, I don't need to explain Brilliant Fusion, but as you saw, there's also like a replay that Brilliant Fusion is a one card, like a nice full field, featuring the new Chimera cards as well. Because of Rinbrum, Rinbrum. Sending the new Gazelle to the graveyard, that will trigger Gazelle, searching Kit, etc. And Kit, turns on like another search and more pluses, featuring all the new Chimera cards. As for the main deck, I think this is, very similar to the other decks I've been pumping out recently, is that, like Thrust is a card that I definitely like, a couple of evenly matched to search out, and also evenly match is popular in the format, so I think this deck is another cross-out deck to main deck, simply because Ash Blossom is a big card against this deck, because of your Lone Fire Blossom, for example, because of Brilliant Fusion. So, that's why Crossout is there, featuring evenly matched, just in case if your opponent has their, evenly matched, you have your at least your potential Crossout. Another cool gimmick, I guess, with the deck is that, their fusion spell has the capability to, once per turn, get it back from the graveyard, or banish it from the graveyard to special summon the 2 OG Bear format and Gazelle from the deck. So, you're kind of main decking 2 bricks, cards that you really don't want to draw. There is a way to, send back, let's say if you draw one of them, there is a way, or at least there are ways featuring the, Albus engine, like the fusion engine featuring Albus to send cards back to the deck. So I guess it's okay, I'm not so sure, like 1-1. Maybe 2-off, like both of them being a 2-off, simply because, banish your Chimera Fusion to special summon both of them from the deck. That's kind of good. Again, simply because it's basically more monsters on board for a potential fusion summon. It gives you more monsters to go for, you know, a potential Chimera as well. You know, the one that pops cards on your opponent and then draws cards. Again, fantastic during their turn. And you know, Chimera fusion is a quick play spell. So I think, you know, that's definitely a strategy that's super viable for the deck. But you know, it needs more testing and more optimized builds. And I'm looking at the side, no, not the side deck, but the extra deck as well. Only containing fusion monsters for now, simply because there are some cards like you know, the Albus engine, for example, and also some cards from the you know, the Chimera engine that locks you into fusion summoning for that turn. So I mean, with some more playtesting, I guess you could even make some rank 5s, maybe some rank 4s. But it's up to you. It's up to you. But again, it needs more testing to see which rank 5s, maybe rank 4s, maybe synchros you want to play. So going second again, I feel this game wasn't really winnable simply because like even after one Imperm, no, that's not true. Like already have Call by on Toad would have been fantastic here. But Ghost Bell says no, and like from here now on, there is no follow-up play. Because like with that Swordsman, the Lone Fire Blossom, it should have been an Ecclesia. Like if your opponent controls at least one monster or more monsters than you, like special summon itself to the field, you know, very similar to Ecclesia. Or am I asking too much? Might be the case, but this is, you know, more than enough. The level 5, whatchamacallit, the new Chimera one in the, you know, the one that, like, when it's summoned, it's basically a +2. It surges one of your beasts, the new Gazelle, for example, and the Chimera Fusion. Again, a +2 upon summon, and that works during your opponent's turn as well, you know, with the level 6 fusion. Banish the fusion from your graveyard to reborn something from the graveyard. So again, that could be your new performance, your level 5, for another +2. And again, like the potential is definitely there. Depends, right? Like, if they are going to hit brilliant, not brilliant fusion, but, you know, the Albus engine. So I'm not sure. It might, because, you know, it's at 1, I think, in the OCG. Yeah. So anyway, use Ash Blossom on Emergence, right? Like this field, again, Mirror Jade, you have another monster bounce, monster negation plus bounce. You have the fusion, like the level 8 Chimera doesn't really do that much. I guess it's just a big beat stick, but you know, it's there for obviously a big beat stick and, you know, a fusion target for your Chimera fusion, but mainly to get the level 6 in graveyard as well. To again, during your opponent's turn, banish it from the graveyard to special summon any, you know, monster from your graveyard, basically for the archetype. So reborn the new Baphomet, +2 to search one of the Gazelles, you know, another Chimera fusion, and potentially go from there, right? I should be dropping the Guardian Chimera again for some sweet pluses, potentially forcing out some cards. Thrust is there, I don't think it's live, but Thrust is a sick card. You know, against basically, it's, you know, different than the Ishizu tier format we had before. You know, it was basically play Ishizu tier or bust, but now it kind of feels fun again to play with these new decks, new archetypes, simply because you have a chance against the other decks, or current top tier decks in the TCG. Last example, again, another example where, you know, like simply, I think this deck needs to run Crossout, because it's so vulnerable to Ash. Gamma, I mean, you're not running Gamma, but you know what I mean, like Talons, Thrust. So discard the Snake, search Swordsman, normal summon Swordsman, which is again the Lone Fire Blossom. Crossout was needed. Otherwise, I guess maybe another Talons, but that would have been it. Simply because the new Gazelle, again, does not have the capability to special summon itself, or again, no fusion in hand to potentially dodge like a hand trap from your opponent. So drop the level 6, so now I know my opponent needs to discard a card during the end phase, but I think Talons should be alive, and I'm greedy, so I draw 2, and I draw Thrust. Oh, sick. Oh, go for the fusion. And yeah, this should be game, right? Yeah, go for Brown, Search, go for Mirror Jade, and then, you know, during the battle phase, using Mirror Jade to banish the Oviraptor, and that indeed should be game. Plus another potential fusion search during the end phase, right? Like, I'm not so sure if, you know, the fusion engine is going to survive maybe one of our next lists, but we'll see. You know, we might suffer the same fate as in the OG, well, as in the OCG. So this is the current deck list. Again, like always, feel free to leave suggestions. I'm I'm feeling confident about the deck, but like, you know, stuff like Brandon Fusion, I'm not so sure, you know, if it's going to survive, but we'll see. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. We'll keep signing out. Peace.